workspace together, this cube automatically pops up um, when you open a program. So you want to delete the cube. It's already highlighted, so you just press the delete key on your keyboard and it'll delete. Alright, now what we want to do, we want to set up the side view of our workspace. So if you click over here, if you go over to this the axes or the axes, um, you have Z, X, Y, and then you have minus Y, which would be the front of the car. Y would be the rear of the vehicle. Z plus will be above the vehicle, and minus Z beneath the vehicle. So we're going to go to X. Oh, here's the cool part too. You can, if you click the same axis twice, then it'll flip it, do a 180 flip, so it'll go to the other side of the vehicle. So we're going to say an X, so the front of the vehicle can face minus Y. Alright, now let's go to add. You want to go down to image, and you want to click on reference. Okay. Now you go down to, you have to go to the appropriate folder to look for your blueprint. I have everything labeled accordingly, so I'm gonna bring in the blueprint and load reference image. You left click. Alright, now what we have to do is position it accordingly, but before we do that, we have to see what we're doing, right? Let's turn down the opacity for this reference image. Let's turn down opacity. Okay, so let's rename it right quick. We're going to, if you double left click this here where it says empty, then you can type in the name of your reference image. In this case, we're going to type in Aston Martin side view. Okay, and then we're going to go to, let's see, here it is. So we're going to go to data properties. If you hover over the different options, it'll tell you what it's for. So in this case, if you go down to data, it's going to give you some more options, and you want to show in orthographic and perspective. If you turn off perspective, once you're rotating a vehicle and everything, you won't see the blueprint. But if you are in ortho, that's a plan view, or plane view, then like right now I'm in perspective because I'm out of ortho. So if you go back to ortho, in order to do that, you have to click the viewpoint, and now we're looking at it again. But if you click on perspective, then you'll be able to view it at all times. Alright, so let's just keep that on for now because that's going to help us line things up too. Now click on opacity, and then you want to drag this down. Now to drag it, you'll left click it and drag your mouse at the same time. If you left click it only, it's going to allow you put in a number. For me, I like to keep it at 0.2. Okay, that way you'll be able to see where you can line it up along the axis, Z axis, X, Y. So let's align it. Now you have some options over here. You have a menu bar over here, and on the left side here you want to click move. You also have rotate, and you also have scale. Let's click on move so we can move everything where we need it. Now to zoom in, you want to hold down the control key on your keyboard and scroll up using your mouse, the middle button of your mouse. You just, well, if you hold down that middle button and you move the mouse up, then you can zoom in and out. So it's a hotkey. It's a hotkey combination. So control on the keyboard and press and hold the middle button on your mouse. Move the mouse up and down on your surface, and you can zoom in and out. And then shift, if you hold down the shift key and hold down the mouse button in the middle, you can pan all the way around. Now, if you just hold down the middle mouse button and just move your mouse around, then you can orbit however you want. So let's go back into our uh, viewpoint. We want to just align everything. So the way I like to do it, I like to line up the front of the vehicle right up to the center, uh, well, the origin. So let's zoom in 1 second. Okay, all right. So let's move the blueprint over. Now here's a cool thing. You can now if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see hotkeys, more hotkeys, and this is why while you have you're holding down the left button on your mouse along an axis, and it's going to come up with uh, various options at the bottom. Now you can incrementally move your object around, well, in this case, our image. If you hold down the axis, right, this will be the y axis, and then you hold down the shift key on your keyboard, and you can move it incrementally along that axis. So this will help us get it closer to where we want it. And now we're going to do the same thing for placing the tires on the ground. Good. Now we have everything lined up. If you back out, then that's what we have. All right. Just checking everything out here. Okay, so let's go to the top view, which is Z. Left click it, and it's going to put us in top view. And then we're going to do the same thing. Go to add, go to image, reference, and then we're going to bring in the same thing. Okay. Now we have to rotate this picture so it makes sense, because we want the front of the vehicle to here, I'll show you. So let's rotate it first. Okay, let's click left click to rotate. Okay, and now you're going to rotate it along this axis. Now if you click and hold it, it's going to start rotating it, right? You can move it around and stuff like that. Now you'll see a sub menu pop up at the bottom. If you left click it, it's going to have the degrees in which you already started rotating. We're going to rotate 90 degrees. So you want to type that in, press enter, and there you have it. And now we're going to go back up to move, do the same thing. But before we do that, well, we can kind of see where everything is lined up. So let's just continue. Let's get a little closer actually. Okay. Alright, so we have the center of the vehicle lined up. Now we have to line up the front of the vehicle with the x-axis, the origin of the x-axis. So we gotta do the same thing with the opacity. We'll just left click it one time and type in 0.2. Now we can see through the drawing and we can line it up how we want. It helps to move it one axis at a time. It just makes things easier instead of trying to do it, you know, just moving this around like that. Like you can, but it's you'll be moving along two axes at the same time. So you'll do better just moving one axis at, at, at a time. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have that set up here, and you can see how it's lined up. Okay, all right, let's move this up. I like to move the top view above the side view because when we go to model the car, you want to be able to um, model the car through the blueprint itself. So we want the top blueprint to sit above where our vehicle will be. And then if you, since we're in object mode, if you go to click on this blueprint and move it along this axis, then you want to move it closer to your viewpoint and it will be outside of the, let me see, there it is. Okay. And it'll be outside where the vehicle would sit. So you'll be able to model the vehicle. And if you need to see the vehicle in all its glory, then you can just go over to this menu over here and click the little eyeball to turn the visibility on and off. Now with this, let's rename it so we can keep everything in line. This would be the top view, so we want to rename it Aston Martin top view. Now, if you have any experience with Blender and you already know how to set up your drawings and you just want just learn more about the modeling aspect of it, feel free to fast forward past this part because this part is going to be really detailed for the beginners who aren't really familiar with the program. So um, just keep that in mind. It's just for the beginners who is just looking to start this out, looking to get into 3D modeling. Alright, so let's do our front view. We're going to do the same thing. Let's add image reference. Now before we do that, let's go to our front view, which would be -y. Okay. Now let's add image reference, and then we're going to go to the same thing. Also, I'm going to have a picture of the blueprint on my portfolio page, on my portfolio website, so you can go ahead and grab it off of there. A lot of the blueprint images, orthographic images that you will find online, a lot of them have watermarks in them, on them I should say, and it's a little bit annoying to look at. So, and a lot of times if they're for purchase, so if you don't purchase it, you try to grab it off the internet, the quality of it would be really bad. I was honestly surprised I was able to get this blueprint for free, and you see how clean it is too. So let's see. Now this will be the front view, so we have to line it up accordingly. And since we're in -y, we're looking at the front of the vehicle, but we're only going to model half of the vehicle and mirror the other half on the other side of the axis. So let's turn down opacity immediately so we can see what we're doing. And then we're going to move it over, and we want to keep the middle of the car right down the middle, uh, right where it meets with the axis, the blue line. You see, and then you want the tires to touch. There we have it. All right, very good. Okay, so we have that, and you see how it's placed now. That's exactly what we want. Okay, now the last thing we want to do, let's name it. Let's rename it. So we're going to call this Aston Martin front view. Okay, now for a rear view, we want to do the same thing. Okay, but let's make the front view invisible for a second because we need to see what we're doing. Let's go to +y which in this case we're going to be looking at the rear of the vehicle. Add image reference. Oh, let me explain something right quick. So when you go to add, I know you see the other options where you have background and images planes. You could do the images planes, but it doesn't work that well when it comes to modeling, being able to see through the pictures so you can model your vehicle or your object or whatever. You could use that. It doesn't work well. I just wouldn't. Not for what we're trying to do. So let's just stick to reference. I never really use background. Um, that's more so if you want to set up a scene behind whatever you're modeling. I've seen people online in Blender, they model cities and towns and stuff, and they'll do like a background image, like a backdrop type of deal, and that's where the background image will come in. For this, let's just stick with reference. Okay, same thing. We need to take care of the opacity right away. 0.2, 0.1, as long as you can still see the image while you're modeling, that's what matters. Then we're going to move the tires up above the red axis, which in this case is X. Okay. Then we want to move the rear to the same center of the vehicle. Now, because of the way the blueprint is lined up, you can actually use, like, you want to still make sure your tires are right on the origin. But if you look up, they have everything lined up. So, well, for the most part anyway, it's not perfect, but it's pretty lined up. So you can use this as a reference to moving your vehicle where it needs to be, in this case, the center. Okay. Right there. Okay, good. That's what you want. And now we're going to name this one. It's empty right now, so let's double click it. Aston Martin rear view. All right. So let's make this visible. All right, so we need to move this to the rear of the vehicle. Right, we want it to land outside of the vehicle space. And then we're going to do the same thing with the front view. Okay. All right, so this is how it should look. It's a little wacky because of the positioning for the blueprint, and we're using a single image as opposed to using uh, individual images for the top view, side, rear, and front. So that's why it looks wacky like this. I mean, you can take this blueprint into like Photoshop and crop each view as individuals and then bring them in like that if you want to, make it look cleaner. But it doesn't matter because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's you're going to be able to design a car, so it's up to you how you do that. If it'll make it easier on you to crop each image individually as its own, you know, um, view, then that's on you. All right, so that concludes the setup part for this tutorial. Next, I'm going to show you all how to get going with modeling this car. And it's going to be very easy. I'm going to explain everything in detail, and I hope you all enjoy. Please tune in to the next video, and we're going to get this going. Um, Appreciate any feedback, all the support, and if you could like and subscribe. I know it's cliche saying it, but it's just a reminder. I could really use the support, and I appreciate all the support I've gotten already. Until next time.